see the path to the championship. I can see it.
Coca-Cola 600 belongs to Ryan Blaney.
Blaney's learned how to win over the last couple of months.
Blaney! Harmon! They spin behind him! It's going to be Blaney!
We're going to win this thing.
Ryan Blaney is going to win his way into the championship for...
You have to run a perfect race to get it.
Ryan Blaney is a NASCAR Cup Series champion!
What an unbelievable year. What an unbelievable playoffs for us.
This is the Team Blaney Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 133 of the Team Blaney Podcast. My name is Adam Rogers, and alongside me is co-host Steve Mez. This podcast is brought to you by fans for fans. Steve and I have been following the drivers of the Blaney racing family for 2 decades, and Team Blaney itself launched on social media back in 2014. Each weekly episode of the show offers an in-depth analysis of Ryan Blaney's latest NASCAR Cup Series race, plus news, notes, and special guest interviews all throughout the year. This week, we break down Team 12's run in the Pennzoil 400 at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Steve, viva Las Vegas.
We're going to Vegas, Mike. Vegas! You think we get there by midnight? Honey, we're going to be up 500 by midnight. Vegas, baby. Vegas!
That's a better one.
That's all I got to say about that. We'll be up 500 by midnight. I played that all weekend. Some people got it, some people didn't, but it's you got to be older, I think, to get that one. But no,
did you say the name of the movie was?
That was Swingers.
Swingers, okay.
Swingers. John Favreau and Vince Vaughn.
I'll check it out in the fall before they go back
before they go to Vegas again. Yeah.
Yeah. What'd you think? What'd you think of the weekend? This
was a fun weekend. It's everything I expect out of the Team 12. Get to the track. Get the little practice in, get better and better, start the race and move up. By the end of the race, be up near contention. Who knows what a late caution might have done. But even Ryan said at post race, said, we didn't have anything for the 5 or the 45. They were just that little bit better. And I say little bit, no more than a 10th a lap, maybe less than that, but it's enough where, over 20 or 30 laps, it spreads out. So, but execution this weekend was great. Of course, the crew chief, there'll be a couple things during the race we'll talk about where he did some adjusting that was just incredible. And the pit crew was money. I mean, they were so money they didn't even know it. They were just like, there's another quote from the movie. They just, the money stop itself put them, right where it needed to be to finish where they did. So, overall, a very good business trip. They go out there and took care of business, and let's see what next week brings. But you can't be disappointed at all. Huge points day, some stage points, and then finishing third. So it was a fun weekend to watch.
Yeah, I think it was one of those weekends where top to bottom, everyone executed really, really well. It's one of those ones where, if they were just a little bit faster, it could have been a perfect race. It could have been one of those ones that could close out and go to victory lane. And you mentioned the pit crew. I mean, I don't remember a time all race long where they lost a position truly on, their pit time speed, because strategies were kind of all over the place with 2 tires and no tires and a variety of things like that. They pretty much held serve no matter what, while other guys may have moved around them. So they were just kind of steady all day long, especially on a day where there was a lot of mistakes on pit road between guys sliding through their box, guys pitting out of their box. The Bubba's wheel nut gets locked on the hub and they have to actually physically cut it off, ruins his race. The 17 loses a wheel out on track, destroys his race. The 45 has their problems on pit road again as well. That kind of hinders their ability to maybe go out and challenge for a victory in the end. So a day where you see all of that happening around all the other teams, it's good to have a nice solid day, as you said, for Team 12. So weekend wise, it's been a weird couple of weeks where we used to say the Xfinity Series race was one of the most exciting ones of the weekend. And it seems like 2 weeks in a row here, they've kind of had duds. Truck race though, shout out to Raja Karuth getting his first career victory. Just in his first or second full-time season here. He's only been in an actual physical race car since 2019. So his trajectory in the sport, is moving very, very quickly, very, very fast. And I think the sky's the limit for that guy. But that race, it makes you, I talked about Vegas in the fall, and that's one of those ones where like thinking about maybe we should go, maybe we shouldn't go. I don't know if the trucks are there again, but if the trucks are there in the spring next year, we might head out there just to see that. Because as you know, I love the truck series.
You're all about the truck series.
I'm all about the
And
truck series.
all about the truck series, and I love it. I love it. It's actually right now. It's funny because I think somebody commented on one of the other podcasts that it's better than Xfinity right now, and it's just it's really weird. I think some of it is a testament to certain guys being shuffled in and out, where the talent is a little bit better. Spire itself,
Yeah, man,
bringing
they're undefeated right now.
right, and that's the thing. Is Spire's brought a couple trucks and a couple people. You know, their all-star truck. You know, or a couple really good drivers in it. But the thing is that adds to the fact they had already had some good truck teams in the series, adds good drivers, and it does. It makes the racing really, really good.
Yeah, as long as they're not on super speedways, that's where things kind of go awry. But yeah, once they got back to a little bit normal, Atlanta wasn't the same as Daytona. They had a great race at Atlanta, a great race at Las Vegas. So hoping the Xfinity series can pick things back up again. But solid cup race too, for sure. I think even though one car pretty much dominated the whole day, still lots of passing, still lots of strategy, still some crashes here and there, and a lot to talk about. And all of that starts with our practice and qualifying.
Yeah, you know, practice. I mean, talking about practice. We'll be talking about a lot of practice next week. This week, you know, they were Ryan was going to be Group B there, and during Group A, the 41 wrecked on the bumps there right off the bat, and all it was really, really weird. All the Gibbs cars were in one group, and all the Penske cars were in the other group, which was very strange too.
It's also super windy. You're talking about that 41
Yeah,
crash.
oh, man,
They
yeah.
they could only have the cameras that were low to the ground, and they like had no clue who it was. They couldn't get really zoomed in on what happened, and that wind. You know, we were in Atlanta and we thought it was windy, but man, they had like 50, 60 mile per hour gusts.
Gust. Yeah, it was crazy. And it kind of, you know, that's another thing about the whole day as a whole. It's like, you know, you can't necessarily judge like the qualifying speeds. You know, if you got the wrong gust at the wrong time or the right gust at the right time, you may have gotten a tenth or two. And it came down to a couple tenths. So, you know, early on in Group A, the Fast Five was the 1, the 10, the 54, the 45, the 11. So we get to Group B here. Like I said, all the Penske cars were together. 38 slapped the wall in two. 5 minutes in, you know, they ran, they were about P7 overall. They ran about 14 laps, 29.60, you know. But here's the interesting thing about the initial fire off and that lap that you get. And TV doesn't show you this. How they get out onto the track has a lot to do with it. Anymore, it's like usually the second or third lap that they run is where there ends up being their fastest lap. And the problem with this was Ryan got stacked behind somebody. Because after about 5 minutes in, he passes somebody, because Tim doesn't say exactly who, he just clears him. And when he clears him, Ryan says that was eventful. He put another word in there, but he says that was eventful. So whoever he was behind was holding up his lap time a little bit. And this tells you how good they really were, because when it gets to the end of the practice, I think 25 lap average was the highest, and about 9 or 10 guys ran over 25 laps, and he was P3 of those guys, you know, behind the 5 car. So, you know, it really wasn't bad at all. You know, you just didn't get that initial, you know, huge lap or whatever that would put you up on the scoring monitor to look at for the next 20 minutes, you know, while they run practice. So, because Jonathan asked him if he wants to bring it in about halfway through, and they could work on something if he has an idea on something they want to work on, and he does not bring it in. So, the 14 was one of the best ones in that group. As a matter of fact, you know, by the end of it, Tim says something about going in the right direction. So the lap times were, I don't want to say faster. What they were is they weren't falling off as fast, because I think that's a big thing with these races. If they get to a 20 or 30 or 40 lap run, deeper into the run, and you're not falling off as fast, you'll gain on guys who end up just, you know, falling off. So
Definitely got the sense that I'm like, I don't think they're going to be running for the pole here, but their speed seems to be pretty consistent. And it's also worth mentioning, and maybe you were going to already, that this is the first week under some new qualifying procedures to where the inside and outside lineups are set from the Group A and Group B instead of taking everybody's time and mixing it together, which I think a lot of drivers thought might be a little bit more fair because track conditions, heat in the engines and tires and everything would all be consistent across your group. So that way, if you end up qualifying 11th out of your group or six out of your group, you kind of line up in that inside or outside row accordingly based on the rest of the field. So it changed up a little bit, and I think maybe for the better. I still wish they would just kind of go all out there all as one group, but I think they do it for TV so they can get some interviews in between.
Yeah, it went pretty well, really. It came down to, like you said, the Group A would be the outside line, Group B would be the inside line. I mean, they still take the top 5 from each group to run for the pole, to be the 10 guys running for the pole. But anything beyond that, you're lined up within your group, which is pretty good, really, because there were times where one group was way faster than the other group, and the next thing you know, you're 28th when really you're not as bad as that. So Group A, the Fast Five were the 17, the 54, the 20, the 23, and the 19. 1 Ford and 4 Toyotas there. Then when we get to the Group B here, I think the 22 went out, and he ended up like 4th at one point. We had Tim was commenting that the 14's lap was nothing too fancy. They're doing a lot of working on, a lot of questions once Ryan gets in the car about what everybody's doing with their line to kind of figure out what to do. So with 9 guys to go, Ryan does come on. They talk about that. The wind kind of dictates how much you have to lift into 3 and 4. And they were talking about that commitment because that's really where a lot of the speed was coming in. They do the 24, the 5, the 14, the 2, and the 22 end up being the Fast 5 there. Like I said, Ryan was a 29.438, and I think the slowest, the 22 car being the fifth one there was 29.348. So, I mean, that's less than a tenth a second right there. Pretty close that, to getting the pole, really.
He had a lot of really good guys in his group, too. So, yeah, sometimes that doesn't always balance out well.
Balance out either now. So, that's based on the finish a little bit. But, Logano gets the pole. Non-encumbered by any gloves this time.
Yeah, I'm glad we're going to get past that, but it definitely had a lot more webbing in it than I thought it did. And
yeah, that was great.
But hey, as he says, he can't sew, so he didn't make it.
He can't sew, so it wasn't him. So we get to Sunday. We're going to go 80, 165, and 267 on our stages. 9 sets of tires, a fuel run of 65 to 69. And, like I said, we're going to start 15th. So let's rock and roll from the backside going forward. To the rear was the 1 and the 41, and Haley also. Pit stall 25. 42 was behind us, or it was, we were behind a 42, I'm sorry, and open behind us, which is kind of cool. Didn't have to go out and around anybody to get into the stall. 3 laps in, it kind of sorts out to 16th here. By lap 6, we're passing the 45 up to 15th. At lap 8, passing the 20 and the 34 up to 13th. There was a little bit of debris in there at some point. He kind of got rid of it. Lap 10, we get a caution for the 20 with the flat tire. That was really just weird. And so Jonathan calls for number 2 here. We're pitting, stopping it short, taking 4 tires. They go in 13th, come out 15th. And like I said, these times are kind of funky because I'm taking them off of NASCAR's app, and it says 11.1, but I think they're at least a half second off. It might be 10.5, 10.6. 4 cars stay out. A couple of them took fuel only. So once again, they actually didn't lose positions on this pit stop at all. They actually did pretty good. The fact that 4 different cars stay out, that changes everything. The 17 ends up being the leader here, and he takes the bottom. Ryan takes the bottom for this restart at lap 16. And we hear bottom of 3. Just hate hearing that. With the 34 and the 77. The 24 ends up taking the lead pretty quick here. At lap 19, passing the 34 up to 15th. At lap 22, Ryan says we're tight here, maybe a number tight. Lap 26 past the 47 up to 14th, and then at lap 27, a caution for the 17 with a flat tire. Maybe taking fuel or staying out was not a good idea. Maybe he needed it didn't take long to tear up those
Just
tires.
when his wheel fell off. Was it the 17 or?
You know what? Oh, that was. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It was
that might have been, yeah.
lug in the wheel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was really weird. The coverage on TV was great, though. It
Yep.
slowed it down, and they watched the lug spin off and shoot up to the wall, and then the wheel just spun off and up to the wall.
I really thought by this point we'd be beyond that, but it just seems like it's going to be kind of part of things now. And hopefully, at some point they'll get really, really good at it. But as you know, Ryan Flores would tell you, it's not an easy thing to do. So,
No.
once again, lucky it wasn't us.
Yeah, exactly. They actually took right sides only, so it was on the right side. Johnson says we're putting on scuffs here, either body armor or snap-ons. They're going to be called. They're thinking body armor. 4 tires here. And it's once again, it's in 13th. It says out 17th here, but 3 cars stayed out for sure. And then there were 2 tire stops ahead. So once again, didn't really lose positions based on the pit stop. Once again, NASCAR has it at 11.142, but like I said, it's probably in the 10 range. Like I said, I got a question into somebody who might be able to answer that for me, and hopefully I'll know more about it next week. So then we get a red flag to fix the fence. So the way that wheel hit, I guess it tore that fence up pretty good. They had to get a welder out there and everything. So it's red flagging at lap 32. So when we get to our the restart here, leaders the 99 taking the bottom, Ryan taking the top. Restart lap 35. By lap 39, he settles into 21st. I say settles in because those restarts were wild. And if you have the in-car camera and watch with the in-car camera, you know, when he doesn't have like the TV cameras, he only has the one view out the front. You see cars coming off the sides, either going past him or him passing them. And these restarts, they were just ebb and flow of guys coming past, then him passing them, and then coming past. And it kind of had to settle down after 2 or 3 laps, you know.
I know Steve's talked about the in-car a lot in the last year, especially once every car got one. And I'll pipe in. I watched it a little bit through the playoffs last year, the in-car, but I've watched, you know, this entire race and what the week or parts of other races too. With this new setup they have, it's in a better position for 2024. It is free in the app if you are okay with having some commercials pop up here or now and then. If you want to go commercial free, you do have to pay for the premium access, but that also gives you scanner audio too. So it's like $30 for the whole year. If you are really interested in getting a new perspective on things, and I always, you know, Steve, I always ask him about the broadcast. He'd be like, I wasn't really watching the broadcast. I watched the in-car the whole time. And now I feel like I can't watch a race the same again, especially with the new position that the camera is in. It's fantastic view of what's happening around Ryan. And then if it's a week where Ryan has all the TV cameras, it actually will shuffle through a lot of them as well. So it's really, really cool. So I'm not getting any, you know, paybacks or anything from NASCAR for this, but I would say it's well worth the $30. One, to be able to hear Ryan and Jonathan and Tim throughout the race on the scanner, and then also to just get a commercial-free experience with the in-car camera too.
Yeah. So we get, you know, during this restart, Ryan does say something about needing some track position. He needs to get kind of out of this dirty air a little bit. At lap 41, we passed the 14 up to 20th. The 8 is the leader at this point. Lap 46, it passed the 24 and up to 19th. About 5 seconds back of the lead. Lap 50, past the 9 up to 18th. 52, past 34 up to 17th. Talks about the front chattering a bit, and don't know if this is because they put scuffs on. Lap 56, passing the 77 and the 48 up to 15th. The lap 59, passing the 23 up to 14th. This is the fun stuff. You're just going lap by lap. You can see him gaining on a guy, getting to him, getting around him. Lap 63, passing the 42 up to 13th. The 5 has taken over at this point. This is where he pretty much dominates the day. The 68, lap 68, I'm sorry, passes the 99 up to 12th. Lap 73, Ryan asks about if he's making time running up, if he made some time running up high. And I think there's only 2 cars basically running up high at that point. It's the 5 and the 2. And they're not really making time. They're just running up there. At lap 78, passes the 22 up to 11th. So right near the end of the stage here, we almost get to the points even. The 5 wins the stage, Ryan 11th here. And Ryan talks about being really bad on the restarts here. Don't know what to do. And like I said, some of these restarts are just 3 and 4 wide, just scariness. Tim and Ryan talk about the high lane, and like I said, Tim says it's really not helping anyone to be up there. So Jonathan talks about doing a little bit of adding something to get a little turn and something to help with the takeoff. They're pitting from 11th, and they come out 11th. And everybody pretty much pitted on this cycle. It took four tires. 11, NASCAR has it 11.044. Once again, it's probably like 10 and a half seconds, which is really pretty good, So the leader at this point, he did pretty good on his pit stop. He's 19, taking the bottom here. Ryan in 11th takes the top. And we restart at lap 89. And I got the words rocket ship here, because in the next 2 to 3 laps, the in-car camera, TV does this no justice, because TV trying to show the leaders, TV's trying to zoom in on certain things. And it's something that Junior talked about on his podcast when he was talking about his broadcast future. And it's zooming out. And sometimes you need to zoom out a little bit more. And I think this is something they probably needed to do on these restarts, because if you got to watch Ryan on this restart, go high, go low, go around a guy, go around another 2 guys. The next thing you know, he was running in the top 5. It literally settles into 6th after about 2 laps. At lap 91, the 11's the leader, and Ryan's up to 5th here. At lap 93 in this crazy 54 and the 8 actually ended up passing, and he's the 7th place, but it's the top 4 in the field at that point. So at lap 99, passing the 54 gets to 6th. And Ryan says we definitely fixed the better takeoff here. And he's just trying to take care of the right rear. So he's, do a little tire conservation, running laps. Lap 106, the 5 takes the lead. Lap 111, Ryan passes the 7, gets to 5th. Lap 115, we pass the 19, we're up to 4th. And then we start a green flag pit cycle, lap 119. And they're one of the first ones to head down pit road. There was 1 or 2 that shot down there in the lap before. By lap 122, the cycle is complete. And Ryan is out to 3rd. So they actually gained a position on this pit cycle. The 5 is leading. The 11 is in P2. TV actually shows Jonathan's pre-race meeting with the pit crew in the hauler at this point too, which is really, really cool. I've never really seen him do that with any of the other teams before. So that's really, really cool. Jonathan had some inside access that he gave to TV there. Lap 128, the 1 car comes off of pit road from a penalty they served right around Ryan, and he's a lap down, and he's just
This was nuts.
It was crazy. He's just, this is the conversation that we're going to have at the end of the race that they talk about in the little quotes, but this is the one right here. There's no reason for him to race Ryan the way he's racing Ryan and blocking and trying to get, it just
was even just the way he blended. I mean, I think he blended behind, but then he just kind of dive bombed him and almost took his nose off. And I think if he hadn't done that, everything would have been fine. And the one, at points in the race was definitely a faster car, and they just had shot themselves in the foot. So, but it's just, he could have waited a couple of laps, passed him clean, and then kept going on his way. But it was just the way he did it was just, puts a bad taste in your mouth.
Yeah. His tires were a couple laps fresher. So I mean, just make the move when you can make the move in a regular manner. You don't have to be that guy, but he does. Lap 132, he says, Ryan says it's getting a little bit looser. And the 8 passes him at that point. So he's back to 4th here. Lap 145, he's P4, and they're about 5.5 seconds back of the 5, who's leading, but 1.3 back of the 11 in P3. And lap 151, the 54 is racing with Ryan for position, but then a couple laps later, it's actually the 45 in P5. So the 45, this is where he starts to show up.
So you talk about rocket ship.
Yeah. His adjustments start to work out here at this point. Then at lap 155, the 45 does pass Ryan, so Ryan's back to 5th here. At lap 157, another caution for the 20. And Ryan's talking about being very loose here. John says we're going to pit 4 tires, in P4, in P5, out P5, and the 48 took 2 tires. So they actually probably gained a spot on this, but then the 48 took 2 tires to get into the mix. This one NASCAR has it listed at 10.44. So once again, I think it's like at least a half second faster than that. So this is a sub 10 stop. They're planning to stay out at the break here because there's only a couple left in the stage. The leader is the 48 taking the bottom, Ryan taking the top here. Restart lap 162, sorts out to P5. By lap 164, the 48 comes backward and Ryan passes him up to 4th. The 5 wins the stage and Ryan's P4, and we get stage points in stage 2. So 11th in stage 1, all the way up to 4th by the end of stage 2, and we're right where we want to be. Driver, the car, the crew chief, everybody's the pit crew, everybody's operating quite well at this point. So we go ahead to restart. Like I said, we don't we stay out on the track here for the break going into stage 3. And the leader's the 5 taking the bottom. Ryan is in P4 taking the top here. Restart at lap 173. Lots of 3 wide, top of 3. The 22 is behind us at this point, pushing or trying to. 22 is not that good on the day, and truthfully, he kind of loses him. He doesn't end up being able to push him. Sorts out to P7 here by lap 177, passing 9 car up to 6th. So it passed the Hendrick car there. Lap 187, the 14 kind of is blocking a little bit there. At lap 190, he does pass the 14, gets to 5th. Lap 195, I mean, Tim makes a comment about the fastest lap on the track there at that point. So he got a little bit of clean air. Nobody was really in front of him. Lap 198, we passed the 11 up to 4th. And Ryan talked about being a little bit loose in both corners here. And then at lap 204, we start a big green flag pit cycle here. And by lap 207 here, we're P4, about 5 seconds back of the leader. Lap 208, we're pitting from 4th. So it takes a good 5-6 laps to complete this cycle. I'm sorry. And literally by lap 224, it's pretty much complete, but Ryan's all the way up to 3rd. So we gain another spot on a pit cycle. And it's still about 7 seconds back of the lead. 4.5 back of the 45 car. So it's spread out now. That's the only dangerous thing about these green flag pit cycles is sometimes you get spread out a little bit more from the guy in front of you. But like I said, we gained a spot on people too. Lap 232, the 19, the 54 are pushing Ryan from behind here a little bit. Then at lap 234, we get a caution for the 7. And Ryan's talking about no grip here. So they're pitting here, and Johnson says we're going to take the air back to what fired off better earlier. And they're in P3, out P4. One car took 2 tires here. So once again, they held serve. I've got it at 9.91 is what the NASCAR app says. Once again, if it's a half second faster, it's actually like 9.4, which would be even better. So they really got that's the money stop, as you call it. They got the money stop in, but one car took 2 tires, and it was the one car, and he puts himself in the mix with this. The choose here, the 5 took the bottom. Ryan from P4 took the top with the 1 in front of him, the 22 behind him again, trying to help push. The restart lap 240 sorts out to like 5th or 6th here. But lap 242, he gets a push from the 10 to get to 5th. At lap 245, we pass the 11 up to 4th. At lap 253, we do get around the 1 car here for 3rd. And once again, the 1 car's on 2 tires, and he's doing his darndest to block, because at this point, the tires have not equaled out yet. It usually takes a good number of laps to everybody's tires equal out. But in the next 10 laps, we hold off the 1 car. We're about 3.3 back of the 5 car, the leader. The TV does show you the 5 and the 45 gains on him, and almost in the last 2 laps gets to him, and then he gets a little too loose trying. But the 5 wins, and Ryan with a great day, finishing 3rd. And like I said, his post-race interview, says they really don't have anything for the 5 or the 45 on the day, and they probably didn't. But overall, the whole weekend, you went from your practice, your qualifying, and then you're racing, just getting better and better and better. The car getting better, the crew's pit stops were better and better each time in too. Their times went down, 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 and they finally got some repetitions on actual pit stops here instead of just fueling the car. So, really, really, really great day. Great way to get things going and get things going in the standings too.
Yeah, they're the top Ford on the day by far. It was good to see the 10 car Noah Gregson. He finishes in the top 10 as well on a Ford. I want to talk a little bit about this. Ryan says he didn't have the speed of the 45 and the 5, which is relatively true. It's something that came up in Discord. I saw it a little bit on social media, and it's just like, we're only one normal race into the season. And it's already hearing, well, new car, they didn't fix anything, still the same problem, still slower than everybody else, yada, yada, yada. Denny Hamlin addresses this on his show this week, Actions Detrimental, tries to explain it a little bit. I tried to say the same thing to some of the folks that follow us. It's like Ford and Toyota, which Toyota's seems to be pretty well based on this one race, but Ford specifically, the goal here wasn't to introduce this new car and then suddenly dominate the NASCAR Cup Series. Like, that's not something NASCAR was going to allow. They're just trying to get closer. NASCAR gave them a box when they built the car. They can get so far in drag, they can get so far in downforce, all these different variables. They have a box they have to play in, and they're allowed to move within that in different directions as long as they stay within the box. So I don't know. It seemed like everyone thought, even, a lot of Ryan fans thought that, we'd get this new car and now all of a sudden we're just going to win all the races. It's like, I don't know how another way to describe it, but that's not like what NASCAR's intentions were. That's maybe Ford wanted to hit on something that they could get away. I don't want to say get away with, but something that they'd be able to maybe do that for a little while until other people caught up. But it's just, I don't know that wasn't your expectation, right? Like, that was not my expectation. I thought they were just going to try to get closer to some of the other manufacturers. A few races in, it still seems like they're really good with drag. They're really good in qualifying still. They've swept all 3 poles. You saw his 2 teammates start up front in this race, and Joey's multiple poles this season with or without the glove. So my expectation was not that they'd come in, and it's only been one true race. So I didn't think they'd just come in and set the world on fire, because that's not how things work, unfortunately.
No, they've got a wind tunnel, and I'm sure they tested in the wind tunnel and they got certain numbers. But the reality is this is the first race that this car has run on a track with other cars, in traffic, on restarts. And then what are the built-in adjustments? What kind of adjustments can they make? What are the dynamics of those adjustments? How is that new body going to react to certain things like bumps on the track? There's just so many different variables. And really, I think I asked that question of Jonathan a couple of weeks ago, just in a little chat that we had back and forth. And he even said that we don't know what we're going to do or see until we see it. And I think that's what people got to realize, is that we're the top Ford already, 3 weeks in, we're the top Ford. But until we get to some of these tracks and run on them, we really don't know what we're going to see just yet. So I'm just what's going to be next week going to be like. They're not going to be so far out of the box that they're just going to get blown away every week. There might be a slight little adjustment between now and the next mile and a half, and that might be a good enough adjustment to be 1/10 quicker on a 30-lap run, which is all they really need. It's not like we're talking about they got blown away. It's a 10th quicker over a 30 to 40-lap run that they catch the 5 car. So let's give it some time and see what happens.
The other thing too is they finished 3rd, and it wasn't by like strategy, like what happened with the 1 car. Like, they didn't take 2 tires, they didn't take no tires. There wasn't anything weird. They didn't short. It's like this still is a Ford that finished 3rd. No, they didn't have the dominant speed of the 5. So it's just I think it's funny when you were talking about, oh, they're so slow for the car that finishes 3rd in the NASCAR Cup Series. It's not. It is what it is.
I mean, the historians, the guys who like to go back and look at stats, and I do a little bit of that, but not a lot. Go look back at a lot of Larson's wins, okay? And when Larson wins a race, it's usually like what we saw. He usually has the best car. Now, he's a great driver. I'm not going to pick on him for his driving ability, but when he has the best car, then he's the most dominant guy, and he takes care of business. In the races he does not have the best car, that's when you see him pushing the car too hard and having problems getting to pit road and doing all kind of different things to be, to try and make it better. So when they've got him dialed in properly, then you're going to see what you saw. Does that happen every week? No. Even his crew chief said that today. It's not going to be something that happens 10 or 12 times this year. He had that one good year a couple years ago, but that was that generation car. This generation car, that everybody will catch up. There'll be the Penske's and then the Gibbses will catch up. I mean, look within his team alone. Who really ran good within Hendrick the rest of the day? The 24 car was probably the best car, and he had issue with the bag
the world's largest hot dog wrapper
that came out of the.
Kick him out.
I saw a picture
man,
on.
That's
I think
horrible luck.
I think it was Toby Christie that found it. There's a picture of that bag coming out of the wall, coming out of the safer barrier. So somebody dumped their trash in the safer barrier, cleaning up the track or something. Yeah. So yeah, but the 9 car, Ryan passed the 9 car easy, and that was a Hendricks car. The 48 car had to do a 2-tire strategy to get himself to the front, and he faded quickly after that. So within their own team, one guy had a really good day. The other 3, that would have been interesting to see what the 24 would have done if they was, not encumbered with that. But so week to week is, this week coming up will be a whole nother story too. We had a tire test. We had a test on what to do. They changed the package. So, Toyotas are allegedly really fast with this package when they tested there. Does that mean anything? I don't know. You can look at Ryan's stats the last couple of years at that track and tell me, should Ryan be really fast? Probably. But it's all week to week. Don't get too wrapped up into, all the Fords are this, because truthfully, Ryan outperformed the other Fords. Is it the car or is it the driver sometimes,
So one last thing before we talk about standings, I wanted to see, did you make of anything of these post-race comments by Ross Chastain, who was so proud of the reigning NASCAR Cup Series champion Ryan Blaney for finally learning how to air block, and air blocked him the whole last run, on his way to finishing third and the one, finishing behind him. So Ryan had a little fun with it on Twitter, posting, a Star Wars GIF.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just there are stories made about it, tons of social media traffic about it. I will say Ross Chastain is good for the sport for sure. So you're gonna have run-ins with guys like this. So, but we need guys like that. But it was just one of those things where it's like, did you really? I mean, maybe he caught wind of the fact that, Ryan had some choice words for him on the radio, which again, we don't want to talk about too much because it just gets blown way out of proportion, but he did. And maybe somebody told him. So that's why he reacted the way that he did. But it was just one of those, backhanded, you could tell he was trying to be a little smug about it. But I mean, yeah, you won the battle last year, Ross, but you didn't win the war. The 12 car won the war. So congratulations on your win at Phoenix, where you air blocked the hell out of the 12, or heck, sorry. But what are you gonna do?
The thing about it is that yes, the sport needs somebody wearing the black hat per se, and him, and I guess Denny in some way has been that guy too. But the reality is when you, I always said this. How do I do this in a family manner? When everybody around you is, there's a reason he doesn't have any friends on the track. Okay.
Yeah.
That's I guess that's the best way of saying it, is like and that's fine. If he feels like he wants to be that way and act that way, that's fine. But the only thing that's bad about it is sometimes there's safety involved. And some of these guys will take it personal when they think their personal safety is in danger to be around him. So at some point it'll blow up again with one of these other guys. Ryan may say something on the radio, but he doesn't get out of the car and really look for a fight or anything like that. But there were a couple other guys who did look for a fight, and that's the thing is there might be somebody again somewhere along the line that he's going to do something like that to, and they're going to feel like I was in danger because I had to race around you and the way you act when you're out there. So that's the only thing that kind of concerns me sometimes is that, like you said, when he pulled out a lap down and pulled out and did what he did, it was a little bit dangerous more than anything else. It wasn't, and he could have made his move with his fresher tires, but he didn't do it in a manner that was clean. He saw a 12 car and he decided he was going to mess with it.
Yeah, one thing I've definitely noticed watching the in-car and such over the last couple of years is Ryan has definitely taken it upon himself to race others as he has raced. So we saw that with the one once he got past the one. Obviously he did everything he could to stay in front of him. You mentioned there's a little point in the race where he gets hung up by the 14 a little bit too. He gets by the 14 by the thinnest of margins as well, and then the 14 drops all the way through the field after that. But still. I like that. I like to see the aggression. But yeah, thanks, Ross. Thanks for those kind compliments of your reigning NASCAR Cup Series champion. He'll take all the compliments he can get. So let's take a look. You mentioned great points day for Ryan Blaney, and it is. He moves up 3 positions in the point standings to the 2nd position behind this week's winner, Kyle Larson. So the top 10 looks like this: Larson in 1st, Blaney 2nd, Truex Jr. 3rd, Byron in 4th, Chastain in 5th. Kyle Busch in 6th, Chase Elliott in 7th, Suarez in 8th, Ty Gibbs in 9th, and the top 10 is rounded out by the 11 car of Denny Hamlin. Worth noting that Ryan is the only Ford in the top 10. There are only 2 or 3 Fords in the top 20. That's Ryan in 2nd, Cindric in 11th, and Chase Briscoe in the 20th position. 20th on back, if you look at the standings, it's almost all blue ovals. So if you're wondering where the Fords are, they're all back there. So maybe that plays into this narrative that they're slower. I think a lot of it actually has to do with crashes and things that they were caught up in at Daytona and Atlanta. So, but once again, you see this 12 car leading the way for the Ford camp. It's how it was all last year, and actually how it was in 2022 as well, even though he doesn't win a race, but he was still leading the way for the most part until Joey goes out and ends up winning the championship. So, here we go. Ryan Blaney, top 2 in the point standings, 3 races in. Another thing worth noting, 2nd straight top 5 for this team. And I think that's worth noting because he only scored 8 top 5s in all of his championship season of 2023. We've already knocked 2 of them out of the park in these 2 out of the first 3 races. So I think there's a chance here if he gets on a roll that we can definitely eclipse that 8 number again and get back to where they really should be when it comes to breaking in all of those top 5. So that's where they sit right now, leading into this week's race at Phoenix. But we do have to go over a little bit more from this race this past week in Las Vegas, and that's where it comes to the Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League. Welcome to those of you that hopped in and took up the rest of the remaining positions in the league after I booted out all those people that joined and then didn't set any lineups. So welcome to you guys. I thought, Steve, that I had an amazing weekend because I knew everybody in my lineup, all heavy hitters, all had great runs going on, and I still finished in the 51st position. And I think it's because this was just one of those races, this type of race, where it's really easy to load your lineup with the really good guys that you know are going to run consistently well. And then everybody does that. And if you have one guy slip up like I did, it just tanks you. So this is my starting lineup. Kyle Larson, the race winner, got me 60 points. Ryan Blaney, 41 points. Christopher Bell was my weak spot here, 5 points. He had a rough day with tires going down. William Byron, 27 points. Joey Logano, 30 points. And I had Bubba Wallace in the garage. I had Ryan in the garage originally, swapped them when Bubba had his issues that he wasn't going to be able to come back from. So, featured matchups. I picked Suarez over Briscoe. That was right. I picked Logano over Truex. That was wrong. I picked Wallace over Gibbs. That was wrong. And I picked Chastain over Keselowski. That was right. So I got 2 out of the 4 featured matchups, but it was still only enough to get me 183 total points and 51st on the day. How
Oh,
about
you want to hear about mine? You want to hear about mine? Oh, okay.
I was honestly, I'm trying to find you on this list, and I kept scrolling between the top and me, and I'm like, he's got to be in here somewhere. He's got to be in here somewhere. And then I finally figured out I needed to go past me for once
Yeah.
and find your team. So it sounds like you didn't have that.
I got to do the thing. Before the end of stage 2, I got to look at my lineup. I keep not doing that. I'm too much going on for me. I'm taking notes, that and I just never look up and realize my lineup. I never go over to it. I'm playing the in-car camera through my phone into my TV on a Chromecast. So it's a whole bunch of things going on that I just, and the problem is I had Bubba in my lineup and I never swapped him. So I had Ryan, I had Joey, I had Larson, I had Byron. That's another thing. Byron, no stage points. He finishes 10th, he gets you some points, but no stage points because of what happened to him. And then I had Bubba in my lineup and I had Martin Truex in the garage. And Martin would have been a 42-point difference. So you want to add 42 points to my thing, then I make the top 10. You know what I mean? That just would have been that big of a difference or close to the top 10. But and the matchups were just as bad too, because the matchups, Briscoe, Joey and Martin was 7 and 9. They weren't that far apart to finish. Bubba once again was in my matchup, and then Chastain over Keselowski. So I only got 10 points out of that. So the matchups are always that it's 40 points if you get them right. But I got somebody I don't know, send out a text alert with like 10 to go in stage 2 or something. So
you think the app would do that? That's something like you think, how the app sends out notifications and stuff. You think they would? Maybe that's
they do,
something we can write into them.
Maybe they do, and I don't have it set up that way.
It's possible.
It might be my own fault, but yeah. So it's my own doing, but it'll get better. It'll get better this week.
Let's take a look at the top 10 in points earned this past week in the Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League for Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It actually starts off with a, how I was saying that I feel like a lot of people had very similar lineups, and our top 10 in points earned definitely shows this. 4-way tie for 9th. Thomas family, Coop Landry, a couple new names there, Vincent 12, and Stellan Arias, 219 points earned in 9th. Tie for 7th. Zero Schlitz given and colleague fan 1610, 222 points earned. Tie for 5th. YRB Believers and Blaniacal 224. In 4th, we have Blaniac 10 230. In 3rd, we have E-Rush 84, 231 points. 2nd, another fan of the show, Joe Bro 1221, 236 points earned. And winning the weekend was Penske fan 24 in the first position, 247 points earned. Now let's take a look at the overall standings of the Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League. I'm holding down the 61st position. It's so nice this year. It actually it drops your position all the way at the top of the list and lets me know, so I don't have to scroll that far, for me at least. 61st position, 427 points earned. I'm going to look for you. And I don't know, are you in the 50s?
52.
Are you in the 60s?
52.
Okay, you're just on the next page. So Team Mez there, 52nd position. Top 10 overall standings. Blaney or bust, 10th position, 513. 9th, Zero Schlitz given, 514 points. 8th is Alyssa C, 515 points. We have a 2-way tie here for 6th with Montana 12 fan and Patrick Brown 517 points. 5th, Dr. Race Chaser. That's awesome. He's a cool guy. Great follow on Twitter/X. Dr. Race Chaser, 5th position, 519 points. 4th, Factory of Sadness 6, 529 points. And 3rd, we have Pandamanda, 534. 2nd, Penske Fan 24, 541. And leading the way in the first position, Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League, 3 races into the season. After the race at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Blaney 10, 561 points earned. And now we set our sights on Phoenix Raceway, the site of Ryan Blaney's NASCAR Cup Series championship back there in the fall. We're coming back once again. Things are going to kick off Friday, March 8th. You mentioned this a little bit earlier in the show, 5 p.m. Eastern time, the NASCAR Cup Series practice. And this is like a 50 or so minute practice. And this is all because,
Yeah.
as mentioned as well by you, new package, new short track package. They changed a little bit when it comes to the diffuser in the back. They changed, I think, the spoiler height a little bit. Obviously, Ford and Toyota, new cars. And so they're going to give them a little bit of extra practice, and that's going to become on Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern time on FS1. And then if you're still in the mood for some more racing Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time, the ARCA Menard Series General Tire 150 from Phoenix. That will also be on FS1. Saturday, March 9th, 2 p.m. Eastern time, Cup Series qualifying at Phoenix on FS1. So this shouldn't have practice with it. Should just split them into two groups, run through single car qualifying, and then the fastest 10 will go for the pole. So that's 2 p.m. Eastern time on FS1 on Saturday. Followed at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, you have the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Call 811.com. Every dig, every time, 200. If hopefully the race is as good as this name. It is 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, FS1 on Saturday. And then Sunday, you have the big race, March 10th, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, the NASCAR Cup Series Shriners Children's 500 at Phoenix. And that is going to be on Fox. The fourth race of the season in 2024. But let's take a look back at the statistics for Ryan Blaney. 16 starts at Phoenix Raceway, 11 top fives, 7 top tens, an average start of 6.1, average finish of 11.3, 431 total laps led, 2 DNFs, and he is on one heck of a run dating back to the fall race of 2021, where he finished fourth, then second, then second, then second, with that last second place finish locking him into being the 2023 NASCAR Cup Series championship, just behind our friend in the one car of Ross Chastain. So statistically, one of Brian's best tracks, 11.3 average finish, 11 top 10, 7 top fives. Then he's on that 5 race top 5 streak. And the 2 finishes prior to that were 6th and 10th. So he has not finished outside of the top 20 or top 10 since the spring race of 2020, or at least the first race of 2020. I think they got out there before things shut down. So, are you nervous at all about this package change? I will say the reason why I am not nervous is because Ryan Blaney has been good there in the Gen 6 car. Ryan Blaney has been good there in the next gen car. Ryan Blaney was good there in a K&N series car. Ryan Blaney was good there in a truck in an Xfinity car. I don't think Brian could run out there in a golf cart that's there to pick up trash with, and I think he could still finish in the top 10. So the package doesn't bother me. You said the Toyotas might be fast. I'm still looking at this being a really key weekend for this 12 team.
Question for you. What team or driver got to be at the test in Phoenix this past was it January or whatever it was, December?
I think it was actually even right away after the championship. It was weird, but you're right, it was the 12 team.
That's right. So Jonathan was there and Ryan was there, and it was the Dark Horse Mustang. So
Yep.
they were running the newer car, and they got to try all the different things. So they know exactly, or well, not exactly, but they know what kind of effect this had, and they know what kind of tire is coming. Really going to be fun to watch. This is a practice that will actually be fun to watch because, and listen to it definitely, because they're going to go back to the garage. They're not even going to do things on pit road. This is going to be pull off, come back in to the garage, jack it up, do this, do that, go back out. They're going to try different shock packages and, be able to try all kind of different things that they can't do in 20 minutes. And it'll be real fun to see how much of a gain the whole garage has, But the thing is the 12's already been there, ran a bunch of laps with this car on that track in those tests. So that notebook has already started before they even get to the track. So they're going to have the work cut out for them, but I would love this challenge for Team 12, Jonathan and Ryan.
Yeah, it was a lot of people thought it was odd that, immediately after winning a championship, he's sent back to Phoenix to test the car out. But I think this does give them at least a leg up on the field a little bit. I'm not sure if they we're all testing the exact same package that has now been passed on that they're using in 2024. But like you said, at least it's the same new car. He was out there with several other drivers testing this thing out. So anything that can give you a competitive advantage is important. And I think we've seen that with other teams that have participated in test sessions before, even tire tests and things like that throughout the year. They always show up at some of these tracks and are a little bit faster than others. So definitely looking forward to Phoenix. I keep thinking, I just feel like Ryan's already won a race this year, but he hasn't. He's had two really great runs at Atlanta and then now at Las Vegas, and had one heck of a run going in the Daytona 500 that unfortunately, once again, he didn't get to finish off. So I think that they unload really well. I don't know. So I don't know about qualifying speed. We talked a little bit about this weekend and this morning before, we hopped on to record, that their MO all of last year and so far this year isn't necessarily to go out and run for the pole. They unload with a good car that they work on with, and then they get a really good finish out of. And honestly, that was the formula that helped win them a championship last year, all the way to the race at Phoenix itself, where they did not start in the top 10. They started the furthest back of all the championship 4 contenders, and we know how that finished. So I wouldn't put too much into qualifying. Yes, it's great to get those accolades. Yes, it's great to get a pole. He did that a couple of years ago, won a bunch of poles right out of the gate with the next gen car, and then didn't win a race. So don't worry about qualifying. As long as they're in that top 15 or so range, even top 20 range, I'm not going to sweat it, because I know they can move up through the field, especially in a track here where, again, 11 top 10s, with the majority of those being top 5s, and 7 top 5s in his career there, just 16 starts. That's not even necessarily a ton of starts too. So I think they're going to unload great. I think they're going to race really well. It's going to be up to that driver behind the wheel, the 12 car, to get things done, honestly.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what happens. This is an actual practice that I'm actually excited for, just because, everybody's on the same playing field with this being a whole new package. And they already, like I said, have a little bit of a jump start. And the Penske guys, I'm sure, will be leaning heavily on Jonathan and what he's trying to do. And they may all 4, and I say 4 because the 21's included in there, may all 4 go different directions at the beginning of practice to see, okay, you try this and we'll try this, and he's going to try this, and then report back. And then, we'll go off our variants and report back. And, like I said, that's going to make it really, really interesting to see where they're all at by the end of practice.
So one more thing to wrap up with Phoenix, and then that is maybe who we're going to be looking at for our NASCAR Fantasy Live lineup from Phoenix. Both of us definitely going to lock in Ryan Blaney on our lineups as a starter. I don't even think I'm going to put him in the garage. I'm just going to put him right as a starter. Let's take a look at the last several winners here dating back to 2020. Joey Logano, Chase Elliott, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Larson, Chase Briscoe, Joey Logano, William Byron, Ross Chastain. So Byron and Chastain are the most recent winners there. Blaney obviously finished second in both of those races as well. So Blaney's a lock. Who else are you looking at? I know I don't like Chastain that much, but I actually feel like I got to put him in my lineup. The way that car has had speed this year, that car had speed at Las Vegas. The car just went to victory lane there in the fall. The one car is probably somebody to look at. And William Byron, teammate Joey Logano. I mean, I think a lot of those guys are good people to put in your lineup. Kyle Larson, he won the race there, won the championship a few years ago too. So
the 20 car is the other one I throw.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He didn't even have a shot last year.
And the thing is he was one of the guys that got to go to the test also. He's the one that everybody's reporting back that the Toyotas were so good in the test. And, so let's see what they do when they unload on Friday.
So again, if you want to watch this highly anticipated practice session for Steve, 5 p.m. Eastern time, practice on FS1 for the NASCAR Cup Series. Qualifying is going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday on FS1. And then Sunday, March 10th, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, you have the NASCAR Cup Series Shriners Children's 500 at Phoenix Raceway on Fox. Well, Steve, I think that pretty much wraps up this episode of the Team Blaney podcast. I want to thank you, everyone, once again for tuning in. You can interact with us on Facebook and X at Team Blaney, and on Instagram and TikTok at team.blaney. We also like to encourage you to support the Ryan Blaney Family Foundation. Ryan's official charitable organization benefits brain health causes like UPMC Sports Medicine and the Alzheimer's Association. To learn more, visit RyanBlaneyFamilyFoundation.org or follow them on Facebook, X, and Instagram. So for my co-host Steve Mez, I'm Adam Rogers. We will catch you next time right here on the Team Blaney podcast.
Good night, Brussels and Netherlands, and check out the TikTok.
Well, thanks everybody for coming. I hope you enjoyed it.